the creator of Hush, Gerald's Game, Doctor Sleep, and both Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, Mike Flanagan is back with his most passionate project yet, Midnight Mass, and it honestly might even be my favorite project yet because it is absolutely horrifyingly beautiful. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a non-spoiler review for Midnight Mass. Now, I say non-spoilers because you are safe. This is a show that deliberately did not show you anything in the trailer. I went through and watched every trailer, clip, anything that's released, and there is so much hidden throughout this entire show, and you want it to stay like that. So a majority of this review will be pretty vague. I'm pretty much just here to give you guys my overall reaction, my review, my thoughts, and just some of the things that I absolutely thought about the show, but I did love this show, and I think a lot of you guys are absolutely going to dig it, especially if you're a fan of Mike Flanagan and any of the projects that he has created in the past. So that's where I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. So make sure to comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts, as well as making sure to hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking movies and TV over here on a daily basis. It's my favorite thing to do. That's why I started this channel, so we can all come together and have a great conversation. So Midnight Mass, it tells the tale of a small isolated island community whose existing divisions are amplified by the return of a disgraced young man and the arrival of a charismatic priest. When Father Paul's appearance on Crockett Island coincides with the unexplained and seemingly miraculous events, a renewed religious fever takes hold of the community, but do these miracles come at a price? So the cool thing about this actually was when we got sent the press screenings for this of all 7 episodes, it also came with an awesome note from Mike Flanagan, which really much kind of just shows that he put in here, welcome to Crockett Island. I'm just going to admit it, Midnight Mass is my favorite project so far. I don't like saying these things as a filmmaker are meant to fall in love with whatever we are working on at the given time. It'd be impossible to do the work if we didn't, because this one is truly special for me. Now, reading that right after I'd finished this, you can totally tell the passion behind here and why this might be his favorite project, and honestly, it might be my favorite as well, because it is very different than some of the stuff that we get in horror today, and anything that honestly Mike Flanagan has done so far. Yes, of course, it has those emotional beats, it carries some amazing characters, and it has a big, I mean, seriously, some big messages on religion and how, like, free will and just elements and like that and what we should believe in. And I really like how Mike Flanagan, you know, anyone could watch this no matter what you feel or what you praise or any of that nature and still feel something for this show. And I like how Flanagan was able to weave that through. But honestly, when we read that note a little bit more, it kind of threw it back because the name Midnight Mass always sounded familiar. And in fact, in Gerald's Game and the movie Hush, this has been hinted at both twice. It has been his passion project ever since he came into Hollywood, and the fact that now he's been able to make it just puts a big-ass smile on my face. Because as he adds into here, along with the figures who lurk in the shadows whose plans for Crockett Island are far more sinister than we know, this show's about belief shapes our communities and our worlds and our fates. It's a show about faith, fantasticism, addiction, recovery, destruction, and redemption. Every character is really much developed to become one of those main reasons, if not all of them. And they all feel and further out and bring this about because every character has a past to them, and as you learn that past, it starts to really connect and bring stuff together, and you're really much learning about everyone till the very end of the show, to the very last episode, and that goes along for the mystery as well. Because, like I said, I have to stay vague because you do not want to go into the show knowing anything. And the horrifying elements of this, yes, it's the typical Mike Flanagan, a jump scare here, very well executed, a hidden thing here that makes you question what you just saw, make you rewind, just like he did in Bly Manor and Haunting of Hill House, and, I mean, you say whatever else he talks about, whatever other projects he has done, it's something that he does so great and something that fascinates me as a director from him. But when we look at this show, the elements like that are all still very much entangled there, but it's the mystery aspect of here of trying to figure out what in the hell is going on. And as you're trying to figure this out, you think it's going one way, and then you're like, oh no, it's this way. And, you know, as you start to piece the puzzle together, it starts to become more and more interesting, and as more things start to develop, and you start to see some things, I just sat there with my jaw hanging on the floor like multiple times, and some of the makeup and some of the scares and the prosthetics in here are absolutely, again, horrifying, but the entire show is just absolutely beautifully realized and created for that, because this is my favorite thing about Mike Flanagan, is just like Bly Manor and Haunting of Hill House that got you emotionally invested with these characters, you feel the same way. That's very rare in horror today, where you were that emotionally invested, where you were cheering for certain characters to live, cheering for certain characters to die. And yeah, we've seen that in horror before, but to the point where you really much might erupt into tears at the thought of a character dying, or a character honestly dying right in front of you, it brings that emotional flair to it. And this might have one of the most emotional endings too. I mean, Mike Flanagan straight up ripped my heart out, made me look at my heart, question my life, and then put it back into me and said, okay, you can finish the show now. And I'm like, God damn, Flanagan, what you doing to me? This show really tells the story of one of the greatest mysteries of human nature, faith itself. How even in the darkness and the worst of it, the absence of light and hope, we sing. This is something that, again, Flanagan sent towards us, and after watching the show, I believe. I'm absolutely floored with what he was able to create in here as a director and a writer, and we've seen him do stuff like this before, but the passion behind here, and again, the way that I can't emphasize enough how he was able to weave this story and make you guessing all the way up until the end, is something just beautiful, but also scary at the same time, because you don't know what's going on. You think it's one way and you're questioning yourself. You're like, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on, but is this actually it? Or is this his other thing? And even the people in the town, as stuff starts to figure out, they start to question this too. In episode 5, when I started this show on episode 1, I binged it with pretty much one sitting. I could not stop watching the damn show. And in the fact, the second I finished watching it, I had to start it again, because I needed to watch it again to feel all the way through. So at the time of this review, I've watched it twice. And I'm going to watch it a third time once it comes out on Netflix, because I just need to pick apart every single ounce of it all. Honestly, even though I was hooked by the end of episode 1, because every single episode ends in a way where you must continue watching, episode 5, 6, and 7 blew my damn mind. And just like how Bly Manor and Haunting of Hill House had some of those mind-blowing episodes, 5, 6, and 7 are absolutely all there. I mean, they're each different in the way that it contains its horror elements and the way that it really furthers out the story. But as you get deeper and deeper, it becomes darker and scarier and more intense, to the point where you don't know where this is going until the very last shot of the show, where you just go and you can finally take a breath. I do want to acclaim here is the performances, because Zach Gilford and of course Hamish Linklater are two of the main characters in here and absolutely steal the show. But for me, Katie Siegel, who has been in a lot of Mike Flanagan's work, she is absolutely through and throughout the best character in here, and the one that I was the most attached to. Not to say that none of the other characters is, because this is a big cast of characters. Everyone's going to have their own different one, but I loved her in this as well, and might be my favorite performance she's ever given in the shows. Also, a big shout out to Raul Coley, who also showed up in Bly Manor. I love this guy as an actor, and I think he was just fantastic in this as well. Mike Flanagan does it again. Midnight Mass is a near perfection, a mysterious, tense, and unsettling, and honestly, a flat-out near-perfect show once again. Once you start it, you will not be able to stop, and it feels like something right out of a Stephen King novel, but created for this generation. I am so in love with this. And that Stephen King quote is kind of what I wanted to leave this kind of whole entire review off of. Stephen King is one of the most prominent horror creators in all of history. But honest to God, I think Mike Flanagan, when we look years back, we're going to look at his filmography and go, so is this guy. I think Flanagan absolutely captures the essence of what Stephen King always tries to go for in each and every one of his novels and creations, and Flanagan does it in his own style. But the easiest way to compare it to is Stephen King. Each and every one of his creations has felt like something that Stephen King would have developed back in the day in a book. And Mike Flanagan's just recreating these. And it's funny because he did do Dr. Sleep, which Stephen King also wrote, and it's very, very close to accuracy on that, but I love how they were able to truly develop this entire show, and I really found it to be quite brilliant in so many different manners. For me, this is probably his best project. It's personally my favorite project because it's so different than any of the things that we see in horror today. And not speaking on the emotional part, but the mystery itself and what's actually going on here. We don't get a lot of that in horror. It's a lot of demonic stuff, ghosts, and all sorts of things like that, and I want more things like this. And that's what I love about Mike Flanagan, is he took the risk and absolutely paid off. And again, thank you for bringing me back to my remembering of when the first time I ever read it, and it changed my life. So Mike Flanagan, you've refueled my love for horror, and with all that said, I'm going to give Midnight Mass an A+. hard to pick out nitpicks in here because, yeah, some characters could have easily been a little bit more developed, but when it comes down to emotion, passion, all sorts of things like that, I love this show. I can't wait to watch it again, and I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts as well. So make sure to comment down below, let me know your guys' thoughts. Hit that like and subscribe button as well if you guys are new here. I love talking movies and TV, and I'm sure if you guys are here as well, you probably love doing the same thing. And as well as head on over to Sandwich on Films on how to see films early, and of course, the big thing to you, and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So of course, until next time, stay classy.